Alright team, what we're going to add is some dialogue to our game. So at the moment we've got fighting these enemies. We're actually going to make a whole new scene for this. So in my scenes, I've got the battle scene. I'm going to create a new scene called the dialogue scene. Cool. So I'm going to set up a few things. Scale him up. Change him from a player sprite to just a player. And I'm going to add his rigid body, his collider, capsule collider. I'll tighten that up. Okay, I'm going to add a few platforms. So my sprites, platforms, add them away. Cool. Also on my main camera, I'm just going to give that the script to move around after my player. Move around after the player. So what I should see, move back and forwards and shoot projectiles. Alright, so what I want to do is I want to add a character to talk to over this side of the screen. I'm going to grab an enemy sprite, scale him up to be really big. Add his collider, capsule collider 2D, and I'll tighten that up. Cool, he's just going to sit there so he doesn't need any movement scripts or anything like that. But to make him look a little bit different, I'm just going to grab his sprite renderer, change the color. Alright, just so that he looks different to the normal red sprites. Because this guy here is going to be our wise old sprite. So at the moment, he's solid. I can't run through him. I can run up to him, I can shoot him all I want. I can even jump onto his head. But he's just sitting there. What I want to happen is that when I walk up to my enemy, in fact, I'll call him my dialogue NPC. When I walk up to my dialogue NPC, I want to be able to talk to him. And all of that's going to be done through canvases. So, I'll go ahead and I'll create an empty object, and I'll call this one my canvases. And inside that, I'm going to add some canvases. Firstly, my first canvas is going to be called my pop-up canvas. My next canvas is going to be called my dialog canvas. Cool. So what are these going to look like? Well, the pop-up canvas, it's just going to have some text in it. And I'll resize that. It can be quite large. I'm going to center the text in the very middle, and it's anchored also to the middle. Increase that font size, and I'm just going to say press E to talk. I'll write interact. Just in case we use this same pop-up canvas for other things later on. I'll change the color of the text to white so it shows up. And I'll just leave that there. In fact, I'll change the text name to just be called the pop-up text. My dialog canvas, I'll turn off the pop-up canvas for now by just clicking this check mark. My dialog canvas is similarly going to have some text, UI text. I'll make it 1000 wide, maybe 300 tall. I'm going to anchor it to the bottom of the screen. So it's going to be hard stuck to the bottom of the screen, about 150, so half of its height off the bottom. Cool, I'm going to make the text just say dialogue for now, and I'll size that up, and I'll change this to be the dialog text. So this is going to change dynamically depending on who we're talking to. Our canvas is going to have one more thing, a UI image. The sprite is going to be just by default this background sprite. You could style this differently if you'd like, and I'm going to make this once again 1000 wide and 250 tall. Anchor it to the bottom, make it 125. Oh no, we need to go a bit higher, don't we? Plus 50, so 175. 175 off the bottom. And notice how the dialog text can't be seen? If we change the order so the image is in front of it, and the dialog text is at the bottom on the hierarchy, then it will show up on top of it. Cool, so that's my two canvases done. I'll just leave them both on at the moment. And as we see when the game is being played, that's not ideal, being on the screen all the time. So I need to make a script. This script is actually going to go on my dialog NPC, because he's going to tell me when these happen, because I'll be near him. So let's zoom into him. So this is his collider, this is him physically. I'm going to add another collider. This one here is going to be a bit bigger. And this is going to be a trigger area. So if I enter this collider, then something's going to happen. We'll go into our script and we'll make a new script called Dialog. And we'll just drag that straight on to our dialog NPC. And open it up. So our dialog script is going to need a couple of things. Firstly, it's going to need access to the UI. Then we're going to need to get a reference to both of those canvases. Public canvas, call the first one pop-up canvas, and public canvas dialog canvas. At the start of our game, I want pop-up canvas .enabled to equal false, so it's not on, and dialog canvas .enabled to equal false, so it is not on. We'll get rid of the update for now, we may bring it back later. So we'll make a void on trigger enter 2D. If we enter the trigger area around our character, it's going to need a collider 2D. This is going to be the thing in the trigger area. If the thing in the trigger area dot name equals player, then we want that press E pop-up to happen. Pop-up canvas dot enabled equals true. We want that canvas to be able to pop up. So let's jump back into Unity. So back in Unity, we just need to do a couple things. Our dialog NPC needs a reference to these two canvases. So what is the pop-up canvas? It's the one called pop-up canvas. And what is the dialog canvas? It's the one called dialog canvas. So now when we click play, none of those canvases are showing by default. When I go near him, press E to interact is popping up, but it's staying on my screen the entire time. So let's fix that. So I want exactly the same, so I'm just going to copy and paste it, except this is on trigger exit, and I want the canvas.enable to equal false. So now my canvas will hide if I'm not near my character. Alright, so now all I need to do is if I'm near this guy and I press E, then I want something to happen. So I'm going to need to check if I'm near this enemy. So I'm going to make a boolean I'll make it private because I don't need to see it in Unity. Private bool near enemy. Make that one word. And by default, it's going to equal false because we're not going to be near the enemy. Whenever this happens, whenever that pop-up is on the screen, near enemy is going to equal true. And whenever the pop-up is not on the screen, near enemy is going to equal false because we have moved away from them. So now we're going to need to bring that void update back. Void update. So if it is true that we're near the enemy, so near enemy equals true, equals true. So if this is true and we press the E button, so inputs dot gets key down keycode dot E, then we're just going to do two things: show the dialog pop-up, so dialog canvas dot enabled equals true, and hide the pop-up canvas, so pop-up canvas dot enabled equals false. Alrighty, jumping back to Unity, I can now walk up, press E, and the dialog pop-up is showing. The only issue is that it's always there, and I can go out and back in, and that press E to interact is showing. So there's a few ways of solving this. I could freeze the game, pause it right now, which may be useful if our game is going to involve a lot of other things going on in the same level, so we don't want our character to accidentally die while he's talking to someone. We may also want to just allow them to walk away, but if they walk away, hide both of the canvases. So at the moment, we're just going to have it when I walk away from this guy, I'm going to hide both of these canvases. So on trigger exit, whatever's exiting, I want to hide this canvas, and I want dialog canvas dot enabled to equal false as well. So now they'll both hide. Now, it's a little bit boring because it just says the word dialog. So I need a couple things. I need a public text object, which is going to be my dialog text, and a public string. In fact, I'm going to make a list of strings. This is going to be my messages. And we'll have a look at what this looks like in Unity in just a second. What we're going to have happen is this list of strings, every time we press E, so every time this happens, we're going to show the next message in this list. So let's have a look in Unity and see what that looks like. So my dialog NPC now has a couple of things. Firstly, dialog text. That's going to be our dialog text object. And the messages, it's an empty list with a size of 0. So I'm going to make it a size of 4. There are 4 messages. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yours may look slightly different to this, but largely it will have a size value and then a number of elements. So I'm going to call, right in the first one, I'll do question. Hello, traveler. Then our player is going to reply, a monster. Don't worry, I am friendly. Call me Phil. Okay. Hey there, Phil. And I'm gonna add actually one more. Notice how it just copied my last element? This is gonna be Phil now saying hi. So these are my messages. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I want them to show up every time I press E. To progress down the dialog system. I need to keep track of what message I'm currently looking at. So I'm going to make a private integer, which is our current message. At the start, we're going to equal 0. So every time they press E, we want to check if there is another message to write. And if there's not, if we've gotten to the end of the list of messages, we want to close that down. We could do that whole thing in here, but I'm going to make another public void to do all of that for us. So we'll make a public void next message. And whenever we press E, we're going to do this next message void. So what we're going to do is we're going to check if our current message number is smaller than the messages dot count. So that's the total number of messages in our messengers list. So if we still have messages that we can write, then what we want to say is the dialog text dot text is going to equal our messages at point number whatever current message number we're up to. After we write our current message, we want to increase ++ to the next message. Alright, so we're back in Unity, now let's play. We should see it progressing through these 5 elements. So I'll head over, press E to interact. Hello, traveler. Message number 1. Player, a monster. Don't, capital worry, I'm friendly. Call me Phil. Okay. Hey there, Phil. And Phil says, hi. Now, this is finished. It keeps trying to call next message. But as we see, next message is doing this little if statement here. So there's actually nothing that's going to happen. So this will be called. This will fail, so nothing happens. But what we want to do is add an else. Else. So it's either going to show the next message, or else it's going to do this. And this is going to be, we'll just copy these. Pop-up canvas.enabled will be true, and dialog canvas.enabled will be false. So we're going to enable the pop-up again, and disable the dialog canvas, and we're going to reset our current message to be 0. We should also do this if we walk away from the conversation for any reason, but we'll just leave it like that for now. We'll walk on up. Hello, traveler. A monster. Don't worry, I'm friendly. Call me Phil. Oh, okay, hey there, Phil. Hi. It's gone through all the if statements. It's been called every single time we press E. It's reached a point where this statement is no longer true. Our current message number is not less than the amount of messages there are. It's in fact greater than it. So it's done this, our statement. But the good thing is, this line here, if we just press E once more, we'll be greeted with the starting dialog. Now you may or may not want this, depending on how your game works. You might want to not be able to access this again, which is perfectly fine and something that you can build into your game.